Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in live, or if you are watching this on repeat. It is Friday, February 9th, 2024, here on the Big Siege Sports Podcast. I am CJ Pronk. Again, thank you so much for tuning into the show. This is our Super Bowl 58 preview show, as in just a couple short days, we will have an excellent Super Bowl matchup between the Kansas City Chiefs and the San Francisco 49ers. We will get to that today and more. I did do the best that I could to try and get a couple guests on that do have some Super Bowl experience. Unfortunately, was not able to get either of them on tonight, so I do apologize for that for you guys. I think it would have been, excuse me, I think it would have been real nice to have them on to kind of just ask them about, what it was like as far as prepping for the Super Bowl. One of them that played for Andy Reid as well, to specifically kind of ask what that was like, what Andy Reid is like Super Bowl week. But no worries, I totally get it. They just had a long, grueling season, and I'm sure that they're on vacation or resting or rehabbing their bodies and minds, and I totally understand that. Regardless, I think we should have a fun show tonight. Again, this is the Super Bowl preview show version of the Big Siege Sports Podcast. We'll just talk about a few things, and I will make my pick as well for Super Bowl 58. Now, going into this one, this is a fun matchup. Obviously, a rematch from 4 years ago, right? We did have this same matchup in the Super Bowl. Chiefs able to win that last one, come back in the fourth quarter, and get the win. This season's a little different, though. The Chiefs were not supposed to be here, according to a lot of people, right? They had a very, very different regular season than they're used to. Normally, we'll be rolling into the playoffs as the one seed, and that's almost like a foregone conclusion every season, right? But this year, not the case. This year, they definitely did have a bad regular season for their standards. But they roll in, they win multiple road games here in the playoffs, and now they find themselves in another Super Bowl. The unique thing about this Chiefs team, more than any other team that they've had in the past, is how talented they are on the defensive side of the football. In the entire Patrick Mahomes era in Kansas City, they have never had a defense this good. They've had some okay defenses, but nothing like this one. They had the number 2 total defense in the league this season. They also had the number 2 scoring defense in the league this season. They were excellent. I mean, they were a fantastic defense. Obviously, led by Chris Jones, excellent defensive lineman that can rush the passer, that can stop the run. Basically, anything you need him to do on the defensive line, he can do it for you. And then you look in the secondary. They have possibly the best 2 corner combo in the league with L'Jarius Sneed and Trent McDuffie. Those two guys have been awesome all season, and they play a lot of man coverage. Now, I was looking into kind of the numbers of Brock Purdy, quarterback for the 49ers, who we'll get to in just a moment, more in detail than what I'm about to talk about now. So the Chiefs do like to play a lot of man coverage, like I said. The splits in his QBR for Brock Purdy versus man and versus zone, his QBR against man coverage is a 90. That's really, really good for those of you that do not know. Like, really, really good. Against zone, 61. Pretty middle of the road against zone. That, I think, is going to be very important. Obviously, they probably have not played a team that has players that can play man coverage as well as Kansas City does. But the big difference there, 90 and 61 QBR versus man or versus zone is a big deal. That's a pretty big split and a pretty big difference between those two things. As always, guys, feel free to leave a comment wherever you may be watching, whether you are on Facebook, Twitch, or YouTube. Please make sure as well to subscribe, like the video as well. Would greatly appreciate that. It'll help us continue to grow the channel here. But that is one thing I'll really be looking forward to, is to see how much man coverage the Chiefs are willing to play and if they will challenge Brock Purdy that way. The 49ers have also protected Brock Purdy very well, so we're going to have to see if they're going to bring a blitz, if they're going to play, man coverage, and if they're going to blitz, or if they do decide to kind of change things up and play a lot of zone coverage. It should be very interesting to see what Coach Spags, that defensive coordinator for the Kansas City Chiefs, does decide to do against Brock Purdy. Obviously, look at the offensive side of the ball for Kansas City. Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the league. I don't really think that's up for debate. Travis Kelce continues to be, I'm going to be very careful with the way I'm going to say this. You know what? No. He continues to be probably the biggest weapon in NFL playoff history. He just passed Jerry Rice for most catches in the playoffs in NFL history. That's not a small thing. Jerry Rice is the universally known GOAT at receiving in the NFL. Like, if you ask pretty much anybody in any era ever who's the best receiver ever, almost, I would say 99.99999% of people are going to say it's Jerry Rice. And Travis Kelce just passed him for most catches in the playoffs in NFL history. This dude, when the playoffs come, turns into even more of a monster than he is in the regular season. And that duo with Mahomes and Kelce is just unstoppable. Now, obviously, the rest of the receiving core, a little suspect, right? They led the league in drops by far. But there is one guy who did absolutely emerge, and I think is on his way to being a star receiver in this league, and that is Rashee Rice. He's a rookie. But man, that, especially kind of like the last 5-6 games of the regular season, and then pretty much the entire playoff run, he's been lights out. And I think it's going to continue in the Super Bowl. I think he'll have a very good game. Travis Kelce's really going to be the key, though. He hasn't probably played the linebacking court as good as San Francisco has with Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw. I mean, those are two of the best linebackers in the whole league, and they play together. They can play coverage, they can fill holes and stop the run. I mean, they're as good as they get in this league. And the 49ers are very good covering the middle of the field. I have a stat somewhere written down here. I apologize. I got to find it. For how good they are against the middle of the field when it comes to covering passes there. I got to find this, guys. I apologize. But, I mean, the middle of the field obviously is where Kelce makes his money, right? I mean, that is 100% his best part of the field. He lives in the middle of the field there. Here it is. 49ers are the number one defense in the NFL on passes in the middle of the field, especially on passes between 6 and 15 yards. They only allowed a 53% catch rate. The NFL average is 67. So, I mean, that's by a pretty wide margin. That shows how good those two linebackers are. Obviously, Fred Warner is, a lot of people consider him to be the best, including me, the best interior linebacker in the NFL. I think he definitely checks that box there. But like I said, Greenlaw is not a bad player at all. He's a very, very good linebacker as well. That's going to be very key. Now, I will say this, though. If they're going to be one-on-one with Travis Kelce, like if it's not that just they're playing the middle of the field and they're like playing a zone there, No, Travis Kelsey's going to eat in one-on-one coverage against either of those guys. I don't care how good either of them are. I mean, he could be looking at a game like he had in the NFC Championship, I mean AFC Championship, excuse me, where it was 11 targets, 11 catches for over 100 yards, and obviously that touchdown on the first drive. If they just try to play him, one-on-one with a linebacker all game long. That is what is it's so hard in the NFL when you have a good tight end. It's so hard to defend. You look at the other side, you look at the 49ers too. George Kittle, same type of thing, right? If you're going to play him one-on-one with a linebacker, he's going to kill that dude all game. You try to put a corner on him, and he's probably going to be able to out-physical him enough without getting a penalty and get open too. Both of these teams have excellent tight ends. A lot of people probably say 1 and 2, Kelsey and Kittle right now in the NFL with tight ends. Some may argue Mark Andrews when he's healthy as well. I think that's very valid. But I would say, goes Kelsey 1 and George Kittle 2. And they're huge parts of this offense. And both kind of do different things, right? George Kittle, one of the best blocking tight ends I think we may have ever seen in this league. George Kittle's kind of like an offensive lineman that can catch the football, and obviously it doesn't have the size of an offensive lineman, but like he's that good of a blocker. He's like a tackle. Kelsey's a good blocker too, but Kittle does have the edge on him when it does come to blocking. I will say that. Kittle is an elite blocker. And obviously, anytime you have an offensive line as good as the 49ers do, and you also add Kittle to that blocking for the NFL's Offensive Player of the Year, Christian McCaffrey, that's a pretty potent offense right there. And we haven't even mentioned, Debo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk. Those are two guys that have had excellent years. I really do think this is going to be an awesome football game, guys. I'm so looking forward to. I wish it was this time on Sunday because we'd probably be about the third quarter, probably like a few minutes into the third quarter by now of the Super Bowl. But man, I am so looking forward to. There's just so many great matchups on both sides of the football. Always, guys, those that are watching live, I do appreciate it. If you have not done so, please make sure to like the video wherever you may be watching this. Also, make sure to subscribe to the YouTube. If you're watching on another platform, you can just simply head over to YouTube, search Big CeeJ Sports Podcast on YouTube, and just subscribe. It is free. Don't have to pay for anything. You just have to have a YouTube account, which if you have Gmail or really anything else, you can connect that to YouTube and you can subscribe that way. And I would greatly, greatly appreciate the support if you did want to do that. But man, I am so looking forward to this matchup again, guys. Let's get kind of back to the numbers here. So one thing I did find interesting kind of going through this is Patrick Mahomes, right? So obviously, I mean, I don't think there's much argument here that he's the best quarterback in the league. But I will say this. I was reading this about the drop rate of his receivers, and this doesn't have anything to do with him, right? Almost at all. I mean, he's thrown passes that have hit guys right in the hands that they've dropped. But 7.3% drop rate for his receivers. That is really, really bad. Another thing I did see that was kind of interesting as well. His completion percentage over expectation in both the regular and postseason is negative 1.1%, which is 23rd out of 30 QBR qualifying quarterbacks in the NFL. So he's kind of been not as accurate as we've been used to seeing. I don't know if that does have to do with just the fact that he does have kind of a completely new receiving core other than Travis Kelsey, seemingly has happened since Tyreek Hill has left. Last year they had a completely different receiving core. Obviously, Juju Smith-Schuster leaves, and they kind of have to rebuild that whole receiving core again. But that is, I think, a little bit concerning, especially against a 49ers defense that is as talented as it is at all three levels. You know, if they can make Mahomes run around, I don't know if you guys remember. You guys remember the Super Bowl that Kansas City lost against Tampa Bay? The key to that game, and obviously Kansas City has gotten much better on the offensive line since that game, but they had Mahomes running for his life every single time. If you look at the guys that the 49ers have on that front four, I mean, obviously Nick Bosa is ridiculous, or Joey Bosa is ridiculous. But then if you also look at, shoot, guys, it is Nick. It's Nick Bosa, guys. I'm sorry. You look at Bosa though, and you look at the other side. They can rotate in Randy Gregory, who's obviously had a lot of success here. You have Chase Young that you just traded for. I mean, you got so much talent on that front four that if they're able to make Patrick Mahomes uncomfortable back there, it could be a very similar game to that matchup against Tampa Bay. Now, I don't see that happening personally, but it is something interesting to think about. You know, obviously, if Mahomes has been slightly less accurate than he's been the majority of his career this season, and then if you add on to the fact that he's going to have to be scrambling around and run for his life back there, you know that's a pretty bad combination for an offense. Guys, always as well, feel free to comment on the video if there's anything that you guys want to talk about that we haven't touched on, or if you want to share your opinion on anything that we're currently talking about. Comments are always welcome. I do greatly appreciate you guys tuning in live to the show today. Also, if you guys want to throw your predictions for the game into the comment section as well, definitely feel free to do so. If you guys are, again, watching this live or if you're watching on repeat, definitely leave a comment and let me know what you guys think is going to happen on Sunday. I find it so weird, guys, that Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs continue to be doubted and listed as the underdog in these games. It's just it's weird, right? It's a team that's been to 4 out of the last 5 Super Bowls now and is looking for their third in 4 years. So it's just very odd with all the things that they've accomplished in such a short amount of time. Like even right now, Kansas City is a 1.5 point underdog in this game. Now that's obviously not a huge spread, but they're still listed as the underdog. They're still not the betting favorite in this game, which is just crazy to me. And obviously to the public, I saw today it was anywhere between 70 and 75% of the money that has been bet on this game so far has come in to bet on the Chiefs. And that's pretty overwhelming to have that much of the bets coming in, or that many of the bets coming in on Kansas City. So uh, Dad says, what is the over under on times CBS shows Taylor Swift on TV? That actually is a bettable thing. I will let's check this here. Yeah, that's interesting because that actually is a bettable. There are several different prop bets. Obviously, when it comes to the Super Bowl, you can bet on basically anything. Let's take a look at this though. So this is going to talk about. There's a bet. Obviously, will Travis Kelsey propose to Taylor Swift when the game's over? You can bet about her outfit. Here we go. How many times will she be mentioned? You can bet on that one. Um, these are not. These are not showing numbers here, though. These are kind of just showing the things that you can bet on. This here we go. I think this is a lot better right here. These are all. I know I saw that. I saw this on Twitter not super long ago. I don't know though. I'm sorry, guys. I'm trying to find. I'm trying to find this, but that is absolutely something that you can bet on this game. The Super Bowl. It's crazy because you can bet on so many different things when it comes to prop bets. I'm hoping this has it right here. It says I'm going to say 12. That may be pretty accurate. I do know that they did say on the last CBS Super Bowl, Jim Nance was talking about it. So he was talking about how funny he thought it was that people were getting so upset about, saying they show her too much. And the 3 hour, 15-minute broadcast, they showed her for a total of 44 seconds. So, I mean, it's not, I don't think it's anything to get upset about. I certainly don't have a problem with it personally. Um, here we go. These are all whether they'll announce that Taylor Swift is pregnant after the game is over. Is it plus 2,200? Um, I don't know why I can't find this here, guys. Maybe it's because online sports betting is not legal in North Carolina yet. That may be part of the reason. I am having a hard time finding this though. But that certainly should be something that we should be able to bet on. Oh, here we go. Okay. So this says why Taylor Swift Super Bowl 58 prop bets may not be included as far as how many times she's shown on CBS. Oh, here we go. No, I did find it. I did find it. Over under 5.5. 5.5 is the over under on that. There we go. I finally found it here. Yeah, this is according to quite a few different places here. So 5.5. And yeah, her net worth is ridiculous. She is now a billionaire. Yeah, she's worth a lot of money. The only person involved in this game that's anywhere even remotely close is probably Mahomes, but he hasn't really started making the majority of his money yet from that huge extension that he signed either. Um, I will say this: I know a lot of people get upset about the whole, Taylor Swift and the NFL thing. I think it's been great for the league because it's brought a whole new audience that would have never watched the NFL. So I think it's pretty cool. I don't have a problem with it all. It's two people that apparently are in love. So I mean, I don't mind at all. I think it's a cool thing, and she's clearly more famous than any of those players as well. That's the thing is like she's by far more famous than anybody involved in this game. She's known worldwide more than anybody on either of these rosters. But you're right, she does have a net worth more than both of those teams combined. That is pretty wild to think about, though. But good for Taylor. But yeah, over under is 5.5 on how many times she'll be shown throughout the broadcast. I will say this though: if Travis has a massive game, I bet it's going to be. I would hammer the over on that, and that's very very possible that he could continue to go off if you look at the his story in the playoffs, his history of him, how well he's played. I mean, it's very very possible. Appreciate the comment though. Yeah, I mean that's a funny thing to think about. And Taylor Swift, the over under on how many times she'll be shown on camera. I think if I were a betting man, I would bet the over on that though. 5.5. 5.5. I mean, I'm just trying to think like, the other games, right? Pretty much any time that Travis Kelce's made a big play. They'll flash to her for a couple seconds. During the AFC Championship, when the game was over, they had the camera on her quite a bit. When she was with Travis, and it showed them saying "I love you" to each other and hugging and all that stuff. But pretty much anytime Travis makes a big play, they do usually cut to her for a couple seconds, and I think he's probably about to have another big game. I'd be very, very surprised if he did not. All right, guys. So let's get to the most important part of this, and that is my pick for the game. I will give you a score and the winner. And feel free as well, those watching, if you are watching this live or on repeat again, you can also put your predictions in the comments. Who will win the game? And if you want to include a score, you can. You don't have to include a score if you don't want to. But I am going to include both a score and the winner of the game. So I've talked about a lot of things on this stream. I've talked about how the Kansas City Chiefs have never had a defense this good in the entire Patrick Mahomes era. I've talked about how Patrick Mahomes is the best player in this league. He is the best quarterback in the NFL. He has a chance, I think, at some point to become the best ever. You look on the other side of the ball and you have Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy is in his second year in the league. Brock Purdy has been to 2 NFC championships in 2 seasons now, and 1 Super Bowl as well now. You look at all the talent that they have around him, all the receivers, the running back. It's an excellent, excellent football team. You look at how much talent the 49ers have on defense. You look at Fred Warner, interior linebacker. You look at the former Chief they have in their secondary and Travarius Ward. I mean, there's so many weapons they have, right, on both sides of the ball. Both of these teams are just so, so talented, and there's a reason why they're here. That being said, Patrick Mahomes plays the most important position in the sport. He's the best player in the sport. This Kansas City defense is the best that we have seen in the entire time that Patrick Mahomes has been on this incredible run to start his career. I am picking Kansas City in this game. I am going to say 31-26 Kansas City, which will mean that the over of 47 will hit in this game. And I do think that Patrick Mahomes will win another Super Bowl MVP in this game. I think it's going to be very competitive. Like I said, 31-26 Chiefs is my prediction in this game. I do think it's going to be very, very competitive. But at the end of the day, I just think that I would be crazy to bet against Patrick Mahomes. And I think that by now, people should learn that that's probably not a good idea to bet against Patrick Mahomes. Because more times than not, he's going to go out and he's going to get the job done because he's the best that there is in this league. And he plays the most important position. You look at every great team in the NFL, and there are exactly 0 teams that do not have an elite quarterback that make deep runs in the playoffs. If you do not have an elite quarterback, you are not able to make a deep run. Give me the Chiefs 31-26 in this game and Patrick Mahomes to win Super Bowl MVP. That is my prediction for this game. I think we're going to have a very, very fun Super Bowl. I'm hoping the commercials are better than last year. I am certainly hoping that. But for those that are watching, guys, definitely leave a comment. I mean, let me know what you guys think as well. If you guys are in agreement with me that it's going to be the Chiefs that pick up the win, is it going to be San Francisco? If you guys want to include a score, what do you think it's going to be? If you guys have a dark horse for Super Bowl MVP, I did see a hilarious stat that you can bet, or a hilarious bet that you can make, that Sam Darnold wins Super Bowl like a plus like 200,000 or something like that. Something crazy. Where if Brock Purdy were to get hurt or something, then he comes in and just dominates and and wins the Super Bowl MVP. I thought that was pretty hilarious. But before we end today, guys, if you want to throw in the comments what you guys think is going to happen in that Super Bowl, if you guys have any, or if you're also watching this on repeat, feel free to leave a comment as well, letting me know what you guys think is going to happen in this game. But again, if you have not, if you are kind of just tuning in or did not hear the first time, 31-26, Kansas City, Patrick Mahomes wins Super Bowl MVP. That is my prediction. Kind of give this another couple minutes if you guys want to put your predictions in the comments there. But if not, we'll go ahead and we'll wrap this thing up. I may go live tomorrow again if there's anything else. Oh, I did want to mention one thing as well that we didn't really kind of go over, and that's this. That's that Joe Tooney, All-Pro guard, offensive lineman for the Kansas City Chiefs, tore his pec a couple weeks ago. Did not play in the AFC Championship game. Also will not play in the Super Bowl. So that's something to watch. He's as good as they get on the inside of that offensive line. And the guy that blocked, that came in for him last week, blocked very, very well. He played an awesome game. He's obviously not Tooney, but he played a very good game last week. So could be a factor, could not. Obviously, how good the San Francisco front seven is, you never know. But the Baltimore front seven was supposed to be incredible as well, and they didn't do a whole lot to knock Kansas City off their game. All right, guys, we'll go ahead and end this thing. But I just want to I appreciate everybody. I want to thank everybody that did tune in live or that is watching this on repeat. Excuse me. Please make sure, if you have not done so already, to subscribe to the YouTube. You can also follow on Instagram and Twitter. But I do appreciate every single one of you. Everybody have a great weekend. Enjoy what should be an awesome, awesome game on Sunday. God bless and have a wonderful evening.